the first order of business will be to approve the minutes of the May 6th meeting as presented. Do we have any questions, comments, or do I hear a motion on that matter?
This is Commissioner Martin. Make a motion to approve those minutes.
Second. Okay, we have a motion second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Minutes are approved. All right, we have two notes, and the one note was a reminder that the May 13th meeting was canceled. We've been going every other week, and the next Public Commissioners meeting is scheduled for June 3rd, 2020, so that will be on June 3rd. This morning we have one proclamation, which is certainly very appropriate given what we're facing right now. So, Warren, do you have a comment on Emergency Medical Services Week or anyone else?
Good morning, Commissioners. This is Warren Blaine, the Director of the Department of Emergency Services. I appear before you today to celebrate EMS Week. And each year around this time, we take the opportunity to recognize the services provided by our dedicated group of professional EMS providers. And when I mention EMS providers, I'm referring to the EMTs and the paramedics that we normally think of, but also the pre-hospital nurses, the emergency department nurses, and the emergency department doctors. They're all part of this EMS system. And you're correct, it is most appropriate to recognize them during this very difficult and trying times because they are truly our heroes of today. They're on the front lines fighting this battle of COVID-19. And it's appropriate that we take a moment just to recognize their sacrifice that they're making and the risks that they face every day. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Warren. I have the proclamation here. It isn't very long, but I think, again, it would be appropriate to take just a few seconds and read it. Emergency Medical Services Week, May 17th to the 23rd, 2020. Whereas emergency medical services is a vital public service, and the members of emergency medical services agencies are ready to provide life-saving care to those in need 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And access to quality emergency care dramatically improves the survival and recovery rate of those who experience sudden illness or injury. And emergency medical services has grown to fill a gap by providing important out-of-hospital care, including preventive medicine, follow-up care, and access to telemedicine. And the emergency medical services system consists of first responders, emergency medical technicians, paramedics, emergency medical dispatchers, firefighters, police officers, educators, administrators, pre-hospital nurses, emergency physicians, and trained members of the public, and other out-of-hospital medical care providers. And whereas the members of emergency services agencies, whether career or volunteer, engage in thousands of hours of specialized training and continuing education to enhance their life-saving skills. And it is appropriate to recognize the value and the accomplishments of emergency medical services provided by designating Emergency Medical Services Week. Do we have any other comment on that proclamation?
This is Commissioner Martin. I'd just like to say I'm thankful, along with plenty of others in our community, for the unselfish sacrifice of these individuals to provide essential healthcare needs. And it couldn't be more valuable than at this time to help those that are most vulnerable. So this is a very wonderful group of people we need to recognize, and you can't thank them enough for the way they put themselves forward in this very difficult and dangerous time.
Okay, hearing no further comment, I'll ask for a motion to approve the proclamation for Emergency Medical Services Week, May 17th to the 23rd.
Motion approved.
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
The proclamation is approved. Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda, we move on to public comment per the agenda. Do we have any public comment this morning? Okay, any public comment this morning? Okay, hearing no public comment, we'll move forward on the agenda. And the next matter is a TEFRA hearing we're going to have this morning involving the Adams County General Authority is in relation to a bond. So at this time, I will turn the hearing over to our solicitor, Molly Mudd.
Thank you, sir. Good morning again, Commissioners. As publicly advertised, this is the date and time for a public hearing as required by Section 147F of the Internal Revenue Code as amended with respect to the proposed plan of financing involving the issuance by the Adams County General Authority of qualified bonds in an aggregate principal amount of $47 million. At this point, I would like to turn the hearing over to bond counsel, Tim Horstman, to conduct the TEFRA hearing. Mr. Horstman?
Yes, good morning. Thank you, Molly. This is Tim Horstman from McNeese Wallace & Merrick. We're bond counsel to the Adams County General Authority. On the phone with me today is Chris Delaney from Gettysburg College. I'm going to briefly describe the project that is proposed to be financed with this bond issue. The bond issue is going to be used to finance two projects, one involving the refunding of bonds, the Gettysburg College Revenue Bonds for 2010 that were previously issued by the Adams County Industrial Development Authority. So it's the refunding of those projects that were previously financed. As well, the college is looking to do up to $10 million of miscellaneous capital improvements to a variety of structures and buildings located on the campus of the college. These would involve constructions and improvements to existing residence halls and other facilities located all on the campus of the college in Gettysburg. Again, Chris Delaney from the college is on the line to answer any questions from members of the public or the board of commissioners. As Molly noted, this meeting was advertised in the Gettysburg Times on May 9th, and a supplemental notice was posted on the county's website, providing an additional toll-free number for members of the public to dial in and participate. We also provided the opportunity for interested parties to submit comments in writing prior to the hearing by directing those comments to my attention. As of this morning, I have not received any comments. At this time, I'll turn it over to Chris Delaney to provide any additional information about the project and then to answer any questions. Chris?
Thanks, Tim. Good afternoon, or good morning, everybody. I'll just briefly comment and just add on to Tim's comments on the $10 million related to infrastructure improvements. Basically, the college is seeking to reimburse itself for some improvements made to residence halls along Carlisle Street and South Washington Street in Gettysburg. And then some of the infrastructure improvements that we're looking to reimburse were some renovations to our central energy plant. We replaced some chillers, we increased capacity. We're also in the process of wrapping up the construction of a 200-car parking lot on campus, which will be completed shortly. And then lastly, we're looking to upgrade and relocate some electronic switchgear and generators on campus, and that should be taking place during summer. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to take them.
Okay, any questions?
Mr. Delaney, you mentioned that most of these projects were already underway, or some of them are still, besides the electrical one, are still going to happen? The parking deck's still going to happen?
No, correct. All of these projects either happened or will be wrapping up over the next several months.
Okay, thanks.
Can I ask one of the solicitors to explain in layman's terms why the county is involved in this initiative?
Sure, this is Sam. Can everybody hear me?
Go ahead, Sam.
Yep.
Okay, and we can tag team this. So the county is involved in this because the Adams County General Authority has been asked to function as a conduit issuer. So essentially the bonds will pass through the Adams County General Authority. The tax code does require that the local governmental authority authorize the issuance of those bonds and find that they are in the interest of public of the public. And so that's why we're having this separate hearing for the governing body to determine whether or not these projects are in the general interest of the county and the public. And then that would allow the Adams County General Authority to proceed with the conduit issuance. The Adams County General Authority did approve the project at their meeting last week and authorized a resolution for Gettysburg College to proceed. So, Tim, do you want to add anything to that?
Just that this is purely a tax-driven requirement before the authority can issue the bond. It does need to have this public hearing held and receive the approval of the county as the entity that created the authority. It's not in any way obligating the county to make any type of payment on these bonds. Certainly not obligating the county's full faith, credit, and taxing power. This is purely a revenue obligation of the college.
Thank you. Hopefully the board knew the answer to that question, but I wanted to make sure that the general public understood that this was basically a process and there's no obligation by or to the county in engaging this process. We're trying to just be a good community steward and help organizations that have projects, to get them done. Any other comments or questions for the hearing? Okay, at this point, solicitor, we declare the hearing closed, and then we'll take the matter up, or where do we go from here?
I think you just need to formally close the hearing and then proceed on to the other business on your agenda.
Okay, very good. Okay, at this point, one last call. Any other questions or comments on the TEFRA hearing? Okay, hearing none, we'll declare the hearing closed. We appreciate all you folks who joined us. You're certainly welcome to stay for the rest of our meeting. I'm sure it'll be exhilarating, and we'll move on to other business. Thank you. All right, at this point, moving on in the agenda to resolution number 7 of 20.
Harry, left the conference.
Thank you, Commissioner. I apologize.
Left the conference.
To unmute my phone. Apologize for that, but it's Molly Mudd, County Commissioner, back on the line. This next piece of business is resolution number 7 of 2020. Commissioners, I'm asking for board approval of this resolution, intending for this resolution to constitute the governmental unit approval required by Section 147F of the IRC with the financing plan of the Adams County General Authority. This resolution hereby declaring that it is desirable for the health, safety, and welfare of the people in the area to be served by the facilities of the borrower, Gettysburg College, and to have such facilities financed through the Adams County General Authority. The aggregate principal amount of the bond is $47 million. For the record, we will note that Adams County incurs no obligation on this debt. They're asking the board for your approval of resolution number 7 of 2020 at this time.
Okay, any questions or further comment?
No.
Okay, then I'll seek a motion.
This is Commissioner Martin. I make a motion to approve resolution number 7 of 2020.
Second.
Okay, a motion and second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, the resolution is passed. Okay, the next order of business is for the controller involving the creation of a fraud hotline. Controller Phillips, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Commissioner, and good morning, Commissioners. This morning we're rolling out a new fraud hotline for Adams County, which is accessible through the Adams County website. To state the obvious, fiscal fraud and fiscal waste in any government is something we all pay for, and if it occurs here in Adams County, it could cause increased taxes or fewer county services to our residents. Professional organizations, including the Government Finance Officers Association, recommend as a best practice that governments establish a mechanism to permit confidential and, if desired, anonymous reporting of concerns about fraud or questionable accounting or auditing practices. And it turns out fraud is more likely to be detected by a tip than any other means. We've had help from Phil Walter in the IT department. We've had reviews with Solicitor Molly Budd and District Attorney Brian Sinnott on the project. The hotline is for fiscal issues, such as suspected theft or misuse of county property or cash or services, improper invoices, tax collector issues, fraudulent expenses or claims, improper gifts, or other fiscal irregularities. And specifically, it's for fiscal issues involving Adams County. It's not for emergencies, not for other law enforcement concerns, although that's always a risk when you stand something like this up. And it's not for issues with federal, state, or municipal government, although if we do get those type of tips, we'll try to direct them to the right location. Commissioners, I appreciate your attention to this and ask that you note the rollout of the fraud hotline.
Thank you, Mr. Phelps. Any questions or comments for the controller?
John, I got a question. Would you expect, if people see county employees recklessly using county vehicles, that this would be a legitimate call to your number?
The answer is, if they're misusing them in some way, certainly it could be. If county vehicles were being used for fishing trips on Sundays, yeah, that's well within that. If the driver was doing something illegal at the time, and if it was a law enforcement matter, I'd prefer that they call law enforcement. But we would certainly address misuse of county property like that, yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, if there are no further discussion, I'll ask for a motion on this request.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Yeah, motion second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, that matter is approved. Thank you. Moving on to the clerk of courts. Molly, I guess that's a review by you, so are you going to handle that?
Sure, thank you. And I remember to unmute my phone this time.
Good.
So we have a recommendation this morning by Clerk of Courts Kelly Lawver that the Board of Commissioners appoint Chairman Files to sign on behalf of the Board the document export project sheet agreement with Quality iCult. This is pursuant to the terms of the master contract for professional services that the Board approved probably 2 weeks ago, maybe a month ago. This is for exporting of images from DocStar to County Fusion. The cost of the project is $2,400, filled out at $80 an hour, not to exceed 30 hours. And Kelly has applied for funding approval from the Record Improvement Committee. I expect that will be approved by Ms. Boyd. In the event, for some reason, it was not, then it would have to be paid out of the general fund. So we're asking for your approval at this time.
Any questions or comments on that item?
No questions.
Okay, then I'll take a motion.
I make a motion to approve Commissioner Files to sign the export project sheet agreement.
Second.
Hey, motion and second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. That matter is approved.
Thank you.
Moving on to Children and Youth Services.
Yes, if I may, Chairman, this is Paula Nyman, the Chief Clerk. On behalf of Tara Finke, the Administrator, her recommendation is to approve and sign 2 agreements, the 2019-2020 in-home purchase of service agreement with Milton S. Hershey Medical Center and a 2020-2021 purchase of service agreement with Families United Network, Inc. Your approval, please.
Okay, any questions or comment on those matters?
None.
Okay, then we'll seek a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, motion and second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those two agreements are approved. All right, moving on to ag land preservation. Sherry, are you doing that?
Ellen is here.
Okay, I'm sorry. Ellen?
Nope, that's fine. Ellen Dayhoff, Administrator of the Ag Land Preservation Program. Yes, as you know, we've had two board members retire from the board in the past few months, Tom Clowney and Tim Brown. We were able to replace Tom Clowney's position with Doyle Wabright. We've been searching for someone to replace Tim, and Sydney Kuhn from Kuhn Orchards and is interested and willing and very excited about it. She has a background with the Land Conservancy, and she was their first conservation planner, or whatever her title was back then, for the Land Conservancy. And her parents' farms are preserved through the county program, as well as part of them with the Land Conservancy, so she's very aware of how the program operates.
Okay, sounds like a good plan. Any other questions or comments to that recommendation?
None.
Okay, then I'll ask for a motion for that recommendation.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the appointment of Sydney Kuhn to fill the unexpired term of Tim Brown.
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that motion is approved, and we want to thank Sydney for her willingness to serve. As you recall, at one time she was the Land Conservancy Director, so we're glad to have her back with the county helping fulfill those roles.
We're thrilled to have her. Thank you.
You're quite welcome. Next, Planning Department, Sherry.
Yes, good morning, Commissioners. I have before you this morning the work order number 3 pursuant to our Unified Planning Work Program that we have with PennDOT. This is governed under an open-end master agreement we have with them to perform services related to transportation. And it's for the time period of July 1st, 2020 through June 30th of 2022. This will be the final work order under this master agreement. We'll be looking at a new one the next time we revise our Unified Planning Work Program. This enables us to get reimbursement from PennDOT and federal highways on all of the work that we're doing on our transportation program. So we're seeking your approval to sign this so that we can, again, begin receiving disbursements under this program.
Okay, questions or comments? All right, hearing none, I'll ask for a motion on that item.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Aye. That matter is approved. Thank you, Sherry.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so at this time, we have another public hearing. So at this time, we will recess our public commissioners meeting and go to a 2020 Emergency Solutions grant public hearing. So, Rebecca, it's my understanding that you're going to conduct this public hearing. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. All right, thank you, Commissioner. So this is Rebecca Moreland, the Grants Program Coordinator in the Planning Office, and I am leading this Emergency Solutions Grant public hearing. So this is a date and time advertised to accept public comment on the proposed application for Adams County's Emergency Solutions Grant Coronavirus Program, this ESGCV. This application is proposed in the amount of $340,732. So before I go further in this public hearing, I want to take attendance. Normally we would pass around a sign-in sheet, but this is a little different.
this year since this is being held virtually. So I just want to ask at this point if anyone else has joined the call since Steve Nevada, the county manager, took roll at the beginning of the commissioners meeting. So if you have joined the call since then, could you please state your name and your organization at this time?
Yes, this is Megan Shreve, and I'm from South Central Community Action Program.
Good morning, Megan.
Good morning.
Is there anyone? Oh, good morning. Is there anyone else who has joined the call? Okay. Hearing none, I'm also assuming that Tim Horstman and the attendees that were on his phone there have also left the call. Unfortunately, I can't ask you to confirm that.
That is correct, Rebecca. This is Steve Nevada, County Manager. I can confirm that they left the call.
Okay, thank you, Steve. Okay, then I will proceed. Okay, this public hearing is advertised on the county website with instructions for how the public can participate in the public hearing and also how to submit written comments. And I can tell you that at this time, no written comments have been received. So the ESG-CV program, this is funding through the established Emergency Solutions Grant Program that is funded through HUD and also administered in Pennsylvania by the Department of Community and Economic Development. $20 million was received by Pennsylvania from HUD as a portion by the CARES Act that was signed into law by the federal stimulus for coronavirus. And Pennsylvania is distributing these funds through a competitive process. And we, at this time, are proposing to submit an application to this program in a total amount of $340,732 for homelessness prevention, eviction prevention, rapid rehousing services to be administered by the county's subrecipient, South Central Community Action Program, SCAP. So these funds would be, we're proposing to use these for emergency shelter, $9,375 to purchase hotel ventures, to house homeless individuals if the capacity of the county homeless shelter is exceeded due to increased demand and or need for social distancing due to conditions resulting from the pandemic. $153,598 for rapid rehousing, security deposits, utility assistance, and rent payments for up to 3 months for those currently experiencing homelessness due to conditions resulting from COVID-19. $150,202 for homelessness prevention and rent payments for up to 3 months for those at risk of homelessness due to conditions resulting from the pandemic. And $8,271 for administration, for use of the Homeless Management Information System, which is electronic program data tracking mandated by the ESG program. And also 6% for administration, $19,286. And this would be used entirely by staff for their costs in administering ESG. So this application is due Monday, June 1st, 2020. The county did post a call for proposals on our website. It was only open for a short time because it's such a short time frame to apply, and staff proposed this budget. So at this point, I did want to ask, Megan, is there anything that you would like to add?
Yeah, thank you, Rebecca, and thanks for the support in getting this grant done so quickly. I appreciate it. Good morning, Commissioners, and anyone else on the call. So this funding is different. Thank you. This funding is different than what we've applied for Emergency Solutions Grant funding in the past. Usually that was to fund our shelter, and as you know, we've stopped applying for that about 2 years ago. This funding is specifically targeted towards helping Adams County residents get back on their feet. And it's part of a more comprehensive work that SCAP anticipates doing throughout the course of the recovery from this pandemic and the implications to our economy. So the you'll see there was a slight amount in emergency shelter operations. That's only because that's where the state has classified any hotel vouchers or motel vouchers that would need to be used would have to be put in that category. So no money is going to the Adams County Shelter for the Homeless, just so you know. But it would be for hotel vouchers. So if we needed to put somebody up, or if we were trying to find housing for them and there was nowhere else for them to go, we would be using that funding. The predominant amount, though, is really for rapid rehousing and homeless prevention. Our first goal is to keep anyone who has housing from losing their housing, because we know housing is in a short supply in Adams County. So there'll be a lot of efforts with this funding and other funding that we're applying for to try and keep people housed, so that this incident is a bump in the road, a big bump, but just a bump in the road instead of being a life-altering situation. If someone has lost their housing, then we will be using this funding for rapid rehousing and housing location to try and find appropriate housing for the individual or family. We do anticipate, while food has been the main crisis that we've been seeing, we do anticipate that rent and rental assistance will be the crisis that comes up after this, once the moratorium is lifted, and we're just trying to get as prepared as possible to be able to handle those coming issues. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them, and again, really appreciate that you would help us with applying for this grant.
Thank you, Megan. So at this point,
I'm sorry. I have a question, I guess could be both for Rebecca and Megan. What is the likelihood that we will receive the grant in this amount, and how did we arrive at that particular amount?
So I'm happy to take a stab at that. So it's unlikely that we will get this full amount. I mean, ESG grants have been traditionally competitive across the state. We know a large amount will be going to the larger cities, although some of those have some entitlement dollars. But we tried to look at this in coordination with some other funding that we're getting to try and be able to have enough that we think we can provide meaningful support to helping about 150, roughly 150 under this grant, getting folks stable again, 150 families. And we are then applying, there's some community services block grant funding and some other funding that we'll be applying for as well. We didn't think we could go much higher than this.
All right. Well, thank you both for your input in this grant.
Oh, you're welcome, Commissioner. I'm going to say at this point, my remarks are concluded. I can turn this back over to the commissioners to continue the hearing.
All right, thank you. So, do we have any public comment based on that information you just heard? Okay, one last call for any public comment for the Emergency Solutions Grant public hearing. Okay, then at this time we'll adjourn the Emergency Solutions Grant public hearing meeting, and we will go back into our regular public session. We'll continue our May 20th public session. So thank you, and thank you, Megan, for your comments, and thank you, Rebecca.
Thank you.
All right, now we're back in public session, and I'll turn it back over to you again, Rebecca.
Thank you. At this point in the agenda, we have would like to present to your consideration 3 items. Resolution number 8 of 2020, which would authorize the filing of a proposal for Emergency Solutions Grant Fund with the Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development to approve this ESG CV budget, which totals $340,732, and to authorize Commissioner Pyle to sign the application on behalf of the board, and also to sign the Language Access Plan certification. And in regard to that certification, this is certifying that the county has a language access plan in place that covers the emergency Solutions Grant Program, which we do there. This was approved and adopted by the commissioners last fall, and it covers CDBG, ESG, and home programs. So at this point, asking for your approval of these 3 items. Do you have any questions?
Okay, any questions or discussion on those 3 items?
None?
Okay, then, at this time, I'll ask for a motion on that recommendation, those recommendations.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the recommendations of Rebecca Moreland for the 3 items she brought forward.
Second. Okay, a motion and second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, those recommendations are approved. Thank you very much, Rebecca.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Okay, at this time, we'll move on to tax services. And I believe I heard that Daryl's on the call.
Yes, good morning, Commissioners. Darryl Crum, Director of Tax Services. I have 2 related items for you this morning to approve. First of all, accept the resignation of the Liberty Township Tax Collector Natalie A. Williams, who has moved out of the county, now living at 2344 Ernamink Circle, Fayetteville, Pennsylvania, in Franklin County, effective for May 4th, 2020. And then along with that, the approval of the appointment of the new Liberty Township Tax Collector, Jessica L. Ilko, spelling her last name I-L-K-O, of 160 Club Road, Fairfield, PA, as the new tax collector in Liberty Township, effective May 5th, 2020, pending bonding by the county surety. At this time, I ask for your approval of those 2 actions.
Okay, any questions or comments for Daryl?
Daryl, the question is, who is the solicitor for Liberty Township? Do you know?
That is John Lisko.
Lisko, okay.
Yeah, L-I-S-K-O.
Okay, it sounded similar to Ilko. Okay.
Ilko. Yeah, I don't believe they're related.
Okay. Thanks.
So, Daryl, does everybody up there understand now that you have to reside in the township in order to collect taxes?
If I were with you, I'd be looking at Molly right now. I don't believe everyone's on the same page with that.
Okay, but I guess, no, I'll amend that question too. Is everybody doing the right thing now?
Well, it is my position that Ms. Williams should not be collecting any more taxes on behalf of the county or the township, and it is my understanding that they believe that she still can be doing that.
Okay, so
the question. I think we need to resolve, where we'll move, who's going to continue to collect the remaining year's taxes here for county and township. My understanding is that the bonding company may not know that she's moved out of the county, therefore they're saying that she could collect. But my understanding, and this is where I would look at Molly, that the law does not allow for a tax collector to continue to collect who has moved out of the jurisdiction. Therefore, the bonding company, if they know that, may not continue the bond for Ms. Williams.
So if I can jump in here, Commissioners, and Tom, I don't want to interrupt, but so I did have a conversation with the Chief Clerk this morning. When we hang up from public meeting, we will get a clarification from the county's insurance broker about the bonding of the individual who has clearly moved outside of Adams County, now resides in Franklin County since the beginning of May. So we will clarify that post-haste and make that clarification known to the township. We were unable to do that prior to this morning's meeting, but the board I recommend the board should still move forward, accepting the resignation and approving the appointment of Ms. Ilko, so that the new appointment can be bonded and begin to fill those shoes and move forward. But we will clarify this with the township. As I mentioned, I had a conversation this morning both with Mr. Crum and Ms. Nyman, and we will take care of that today.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
Okay, Okay, so as far as the recommendation to approve the resignation and the appointment, any other question or comment, or do I hear a motion on that matter?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All right. That recommendation is approved. Okay, we have a few commissioners items involving our solicitor, so I'll turn it over to our solicitor.
Thank you, sir. The first item that I would like the board to address is the sewer capacity and infrastructure development agreement with the developer S.P. Gettysburg Associates, LLC of Galesburg. They are the owner of a parcel of land in Strabane Township that is to be developed into the new Adams County Barracks for the Pennsylvania State Police. So the developer will acquire 4 EDUs totaling 1,000 gallons per day of wastewater flow capacity from the county to support the project. The developer will pay to the county a one-time fee of $15,456 to offset the county's costs for planning, permitting, constructing, and operating the system. We're asking for your approval of this agreement this morning.
All right, thank you. I think I can speak for the board when I say that we normally are a bit stingy with our capacity out on Greenmeyer Lane. But in this case, for the state police barracks, we certainly felt it was for the greater good, and thus tried to come up with some reasonable cost and reasonable action to make sure that project was successful. That is a central location on Route 30 in relation to Route 30 and Route 15, and that's one of the reasons they wanted it out there. And to be honest, having a state police barracks within that proximity to our prison and to our 911 center seemed to make a lot of sense. So just a little background on what's happening here. Any other comment from my colleagues?
None.
No,
all right.
I'm glad that even before we had talked about how great it was having this barracks close to where sort of our law enforcement infrastructure is with the 911 center and the prison. So it's still a great project.
Okay, if there's no other comment, then I will ask for a motion on this agreement.
I make a motion that we approve the sewer capacity agreement.
Second.
Okay, motion and second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
That agreement is approved. All right, next on to CARES.
Alrighty. If I could, I'd like to take the next 2 agreements together. These are both 2 related grant agreements through the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania Department of State. The first is an agreement for the CARES Act grant fund, covering election costs and expenses incurred by the county from January 20th, 2020 through December 31st, 2020. Includes increased election expenses arising due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Can include voter notifications and education, increased costs related to mail-in and absentee voting, supplies to mitigate the spread of COVID-19, etc. Related to that is a second grant agreement with the Commonwealth Department of State, and this is the HAVA grant fund, the Help America Vote Act of 2002. The grant period is a little bit different. It's longer, so funds to be expended during the grant period of December 21st, 2019 through December 31st of 2022. Funds can be used to improve the administration of elections, to beef up your cybersecurity measures, increase security of voting systems and ballots. There is some crossover between the uses of both of these grant funds. The Department of State is asking for the counties to approve these agreements, and then the county may submit invoices periodically for reimbursement of expenses that they have already incurred during each of the relative grant periods. So I'm asking for the board's approval of both of these grant applications at this time.
Okay. Any questions or comments on those matters?
None.
Okay, there's no comment. I might just throw in at this point that in relation to CARES dispersal, actually last week, Commissioner Crawley and I were on a small conference call with U.S. Senator Casey, and this came up, and we made a significant case for the fact that as more CARES money is dispersed, we are hopeful that instead of the policy being counties over 500,000 getting the money and everybody else that goes to the state for dispersal, that we felt that going directly to the counties who really know what's good for ourselves would be prudent. The senator said he heard that loud and clear and got that message and would do what he could to ensure that. Also, on Friday, I was on a CCAP board call with the governor, and obviously the state now has funding, which they need to disperse, and we also urge for expeditious and equitable disbursement of that money. So there's CARES money out there. There's potentially more CARES money coming. From a county perspective, we need it. We need it now, and we need it to be dispersed, in an equitable manner. So hopefully those phone calls will help to facilitate that. Anything else on CARES? Hearing none, we'll ask for a motion for that recommendation.
Motion approved. For both of them.
Okay. Any motion second, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, that matter is approved. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. My next item, asking the board to rescind this morning resolution number 11 of 2017, regulating the possession and use of medical marijuana by employees of the Adams County Adult Correctional Complex. This resolution is inconsistent with Adams County Adult Correctional Complex policy on the use or possession of substances defined as illegal under state or federal law. Marijuana is a Schedule I controlled substance under federal law. The county contracts with the United States Department of Justice. This resolution is inconsistent with federal law, and on that basis, I'm requesting that the board rescind this resolution at this time.
Okay, any questions or comments?
None.
Okay, then I'll take a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to rescind resolution number 11 of 2017.
Second.
Okay, motion and second, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, that is rescinded. All right, next to a memorandum of understanding with Destination Gettysburg.
Yes, sir. That's the next item of business. As everyone knows, Destination Gettysburg is the official marketing organization for Gettysburg and Adams County. And this is for the $100,000 funding allocation for Destination Gettysburg post-COVID-19 marketing campaign. They are targeted, recognizing that tourism supports more than 5,300 jobs in Adams County, and visitors contribute approximately $700 million to the local economy. The Board of Commissioners directs the allocation to be used by Destination Gettysburg through its three-phase marketing campaign to unify the local community, encourage visitors, and recovery marketing to bring visitors back to the county to stimulate and sustain the local economy. I'm asking for your approval of this MOU this morning.
I think we probably have some comment on this, so I'll go to my colleagues first for any comment.
Sure.
Well, this is Commissioner Martin. I'd like to say that Destination Gettysburg's revenue depends almost entirely on the pillow tax money that comes to them. The pillow tax obviously has hit rock bottom since tourism has also dropped off. The amount of tourism is definitely correlated to the amount of pillow tax that is taken in. And right now, Destination Gettysburg has taken drastic measures to stay afloat financially. They've done furloughs, they've made pay cuts, and tried to divest a certain property. So they are making an effort, and they can't wait to the last minute to go into a marketing program. So they appeared before us, made a plea for at least $100,000 to deploy this marketing program they need as soon as the pressures are lifted from the governor's suspension of activities. So I think it's vital to get our tourism back as strong as possible and as quickly as possible. And I'd just like to let people know that we had a very good presentation from Destination Gettysburg as to how these funds will be used, and it is a well-thought marketing plan that we wish to see them implement and put back a lot of our local people to work. So those are my comments. I think it's a good measure that we're taking to help Destination Gettysburg.
Commissioner Claus.
Echo Commissioner Martin's actually the concern about Destination Gettysburg's revenue. One of the challenging things for us to accept is that hotels were never closed during the pandemic. They were not part of the order to close, so they were open. But visiting a location is a two-way street. We can only provide the location. The visitors have to want to come. So I think that this is a great concept from Destination Gettysburg to start, and are already softly marketing Gettysburg, more or less with a message that when you're ready to travel, we'll be ready for you to be here. I think none of us are under the illusion that this year is going to be anywhere close to a normal year for tourism. It's challenging for someone to want to get on a bus to visit a destination. I think it's still going to be challenging for people to want to spend the night in a destination. But I think this is the group that is best positioned to market not only that we're a good destination, but to work with our businesses to make sure we are promoting that we are a safe destination. A lot of their plan was, marketing to more geographically closer urban areas. If you're living in Baltimore, Philly, D.C., Gettysburg's always been a comfortable place to come, but now there's people who may have gone to the beach over the summer every other year or gone to another country. They may be reconsidering those. So we need to position ourselves as a safe destination for people with this driver here. Hopefully they will spend the night. Hopefully they will go out to our restaurants, but it really is our obligation to support Destination Gettysburg so that they can support the small businesses right now.
All right. Thank you. Yeah, there's no doubt. We recognize, the board recognizes the economic devastation that's taken place, and we also recognize our responsibility to try and stimulate that economy. And this is one methodology. Since we do collect TILA tax, we do get a portion of it. The county gets a portion of that, and it is obligated for certain things, like historic preservation, like economic development, et cetera. And this is a case where we are taking some of that TILA tax and directly infusing, our tourist industry, which along with ag are our two largest economic engines that we have. And we concur. In Destination Gettysburg, they say their revenue has declined 95% because they are largely funded by TILA tax. So we concur that with them being the only real marketing agent of Adams County, for Adams County, we concur that there is an opportunity when things begin to open up. And as Commissioner Crowley alluded to, people are going to be looking for safe havens. They might have gone to Disney World before. They aren't going to do that. They might have gone to New York City. They are not going to do that. I'm not even sure if they'll go back to Hershey Park or not because of the density. But Adams County is in a line to meet the demographics and the historical and the agricultural benefits that folks might say within a 3-hour drive of Gettysburg or Adams County, we have 60 million residents. potentially are going to make decisions to travel. And they say, well, you know what? A day trip to Adams County for the battlefield, for a winery, to go to a produce stand could be in order. So we are gratified that we have the ability to support Destination Gettysburg in this initiative. And as Commissioner Martin alluded, we sat down with them, had a presentation, and hopefully this is seed money to help begin to revitalize our economy. So again, that subject's a pretty big deal, and that's why we are giving it as much verbiage as we have. So any other comments or questions on that matter, or I ask for a motion?
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that matter is approved. Okay, moving on to solar.
Okay, thank you. Yes, this last matter I have before you this morning is relative to the commercial solar installation in Strabane Township that will generate electricity to be piped to PECO, Southeast Pennsylvania. So this morning I'm asking the board to appoint Chairman File to sign on behalf of the board an amended and restated transmission and access easement agreement with Adams Solar LLC, a Delaware limited liability company with primary business offices in Houston, Texas. The parties did previously enter into a transmission and access agreement dated October 1st of 2019, recorded in the Adams County Land Records. The original agreement shall be entirely replaced and superseded by this amended and restated transmission and access easement agreement. The amended and restated agreement corrects the bearings as described on Exhibits A and B, which were off 6 to 7 degrees from the county's emergency services building plan. Also, Granite Station Road was mislabeled as well. So these corrections are reflected on the amended and restated agreement exhibit. Asking for your approval of this agreement this morning.
Okay, any questions or comments?
None.
Okay, then I'll take a motion.
I make a motion to approve the amendments to the agreement.
Second. Okay, a motion second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. All right, that matter is approved.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Okay, moving on to the personnel report.
Good morning, Don Fenimore, District Court Administrator. Just asking the Board of Commissioners to note for the records the separation of employment of Gabrielle Francis, Administrative Assistant in Court Administration, effective July 10, 2020.
Okay. Go ahead, Paula.
I'll proceed with the remainder of the personnel report. We have under the Pathonetary, we're noting the employment of Sheila Frock, Court Clerk, Tanner, effective June 1, 2020. And we have some separation of employment with permission to post. We're rescinding the employment offer to the following correction officers, effective June 1, 2020, for Travis Hutchinson, Jessica Morrow, Mason Huff, Nicholas LaFollette, and Gunnar Daly. Mr. Daly, his effective date will be June the 8th. We have Cody Wilkinson, Corrections Officer, effective May 7, 2020, and Sierra Knoll, Caseworker 1, Family Support in Children and Youth Services, effective May 18, 2020.
Thank you.
I ask for your approval.
Questions or comments on any of those items?
I have none.
All right, then we'll seek a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, motion is second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, those matters of personnel are approved. Now moving on to expenditures.
If I may, gentlemen, I'm asking for approval for the following expenditures for the period May 4, 2020 through May 15, 2020. General fund total in the amount of approximately $4.4 million. We have the special funds in the approximate amount of $675,000. I'm asking for your approval.
Okay, questions or comments on expenditures?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Expenditures are approved. All right, any other business before we adjourn for salary board?
Nothing further from the solicitor.
Nothing here.
Okay, then at this time I'll ask for a motion for adjournment.
Motion adjourned.
Second.
Okay, we are adjourned in just a minute. We'll go into salary board.
Okay.
Let me know when you're ready, Paula.
I will. I just need to run down who is here. That's all. I
Okay.
have
As long as it doesn't hurt.
yeah. I have Commissioner File, Commissioner Martin, Commissioner Qualley, Solicitor Mudd, Steve Nevada, the county manager.
Yep.
I have Don Fenimore, court administrator. I have John Phillips, controller, Beth Sissel, deputy controller. And I probably have Alex Hayes as the time.
Yep, I'm
Is there anybody else that I'm missing? Okay.
All right, then this time we'll go into a session for our May 20th, 2020 salary board meeting. And the first matter is to approve the minutes of the May 6th salary board meeting and the May 8th emergency salary board meeting as presented. Do we have any questions or comments on the minutes for either one of those meetings, or if not, a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of both May 6th and May 8th.
Second.
Okay, motion second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, minutes are approved. Do we have any public comments per the agenda for salary board this morning? Any public comment? Okay, one last call for any public comment for salary board. Okay, moving on to the courts. Don.
Thank you, Don Fenimore, District Court Administrator, asking Salary Board to approve the following items. All of these are reflected within the bargaining agreement with the Teamsters. First, we have a $17 an hour rate set for William R. Smith after 1 year of service as a probation officer. This would be effective May 25th, 2020. We also have a $17 per hour rate set for Isaac M. Reese after 1 year of service. He's also a probation officer. This would be effective June 8th, 2020. And lastly, for Kelly Zavertnik, she has a 2% longevity increase available to her for 10 years of service. She is a probation officer. The new rate would be $22.80 per hour, and this will be effective June 8th, 2020. Are there any questions on any of these matters?
Okay, if there's no questions, let's act on the court matters so Don can depart if he chooses. Do I hear a motion on the recommendations from the court?
Motion approved.
Second.
Okay, motion is second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, those matters are approved. Thank you, Don.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.
All right, moving on to Children and Youth Services.
Yes, if I may, please, on behalf of Sarah Finke, the administrator, to approve the following: $18.39 per hour for Emily Stoudemire, caseworker 2, pay grade S12, full-time 40 hours per week, benefit eligible, effective June 1, 2020. Margaret A. Kramer, unpaid intern through the Child Welfare Education for Baccalaureate, the CWEB program. This will be effective June 1, 2020 for approximately 1 year through May 2021. Under Human Resources, recommendation from Michelle Miller, Director, to revise the regular part-time PTO rate to be the same as the accrual rate for full-time employees effective June 8, 2020. A recommendation from Larry Steinauer, Building and Maintenance Director, and Katie Heilman, the Warden, to approve and implement a grading system to define the following. This will be effective June 8, 2020. Maintenance Tech 1 will be reclassed as pay grade S10 with a starting rate of $15.61 per hour. Maintenance Tech 2 will be reclassed as pay grade S14 with a starting rate of $18.73 per hour. Maintenance Tech 3 will be reclassed as pay grade S16 with a starting rate of $20.45 per hour. And the lead maintenance tech at the prison will be reclassed as pay grade M5 with a starting rate of $25.25 per hour. Any questions? If not, I ask your approval.
All right, thank you, Paula. Any questions or comments, or do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All right. So those actions are approved. Any other business for salary board this morning?
I have none.
No, I have none.
None here.
Okay, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, we are adjourned, and Alex will hold on if you have any questions for us.
I appreciate that. John, I'm going to start with you on the fraud hotline. I had somebody walk in when you were discussing that. So, when will this be launched?
It's actually up and active on the homepage now, Alex.
All right.
And if you'd like, I'd be happy to forward some of the textual stuff to you so you can review it.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thanks. I can just review that, and I'll send you any follow-up questions I have. I think it's
That'll
great
be fine.
Yep. All right, moving on to Destination Gettysburg. I understood the need based on your comments. I appreciate that. I was wondering, where in the budget is this money coming from? Or I guess not in the budget since it wasn't budgeted, but where in the county funds will this money be coming from? It's sort of a toss-up. We do have total tax reserves set up over the years. It counts towards our overall reserves. So I don't think $100,000 is going to be stressing that. I think we have, actually, John Phillips might be able to correct me if I'm wrong. I think we have $500,000 in that account approximately. This week.
Yeah, that's correct. There's, as Commissioner File indicated during his remarks, a small portion, roughly 12.5% of the pillow tax, comes to the county for use restricted to economic development and historic preservation. That fund, again restricted to those uses, has about $2.5 million in it right now, $2 million of which is in the current budget for use on projects. So there's about $500,000 that was available for that purpose, and the commissioners have made a decision to use that in this marketing campaign. Again, it's money restricted to economic development and historic preservation, and this is economic development.
Yes.
Now, I believe you mentioned that North made a presentation to you. When was that presentation?
About
next week?
2 weeks ago.
Was that done at a public meeting?
No, it was.
It was an informational presentation, Alex.
Yeah. It was on the 7th May.
May 7th, yeah.
Sounds good. Other than that, I think it's pretty clear cut, so thank you guys for your time as always.
All right, thank you, Alex. All right, anything else, folks?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
I'm fine.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
That's right.